What's up, viewers, subscribers, and agents alike? It's your boy Enlightened Luciferian Prince coming at y'all with an upload once again. My previous video and my previous videos in this segment, because I wanted to address this part, are vitally important for a lot of people who encounter, quote unquote, what we call legal processes. But as I said before, this does not constitute legal advice, nor does it constitute anything anti-government, because government is the people. But what I will say is, this information is given for educational and informational purposes only. Now, another forewarning. If you're watching this video around children, please pause this video and escort them from your immediate vicinity. Now, in this segment, in regards to administrative processes of court, is basically the discharge of the claim. Now, I know that a lot of people throughout the internet universe have given so many discourses and so many different explanations on how this process works. It is very simple. Now, I've known that over the years, a lot of people have bombarded the system with tons of paperwork. I know that a lot of people have put up futile arguments. I know that a lot of people have exposed their hand to the court system before trial is actually, in certain cases, is actually ascertained in regards to a case, because the trial is only reserved to people who do not contract in the administrative admiralty maritime venue of the private administrative courts. They're not Title III courts. They're not lawful tribunals. They are nothing more than an extension of the financial scheme of what we call the Corporation of the United States. Don't care what you've been taught in school. Don't care what the Constitution says. We're going to put that con in 3 big letters, uppercase, and we're going to underline it and put it in red. It's a con. It's a scheme. And this is nothing more than an extension of the financial institution that we know, quote unquote, as the corporation. This is pretty much their hitman. Now, discharging the claim, as I was trying to explain to people before in such simplistic tone, is that you have to realize that anything when it comes to the discharge process is associated with the government, because the government swore as a constitutor to pay the debts of another. And this is by a simple pact, i.e. oath of office. A lot of people who have studied different materials don't realize that the materials that they study are often given from a slanted or a skewed perspective, because these are the books and the materials that are used by the establishment to condition them to manage the commercial affairs. So people who read statutory law, people who read this codified law, people who read United States Code, people who read Supreme Court Reporter, these are tools that are used by the establishment to condition them to manipulate the system to their agenda. But it's also used to the public layman to be explanatory and enough in and of itself, as long as you have a reading competency level to understand the basics of the implementation of the legal scheme. However, no book you will ever read in regards to publications that are actually published, or you can buy from Barnes & Nobles or whatever source you may buy them from, never speaks of the discharge process. Now, with exceptions of alternative materials, I will guarantee and challenge anybody on this. No book that is written for the establishment in the legal jurisprudence arena talks about the discharge process. And this is why a lot of people fail in regards to discharge. See, you can easily be charged, but it's very hard to discharge, because the discharge process then makes the system liable. What I try to explain to people is that 2 + 2 is 4 in a simplistic way, that they'll charge you for something because they want you to accept the liability. So I don't care if it's from a simple traffic ticket, a possession, hell, pissing on the sidewalk. It doesn't matter. It all can be drafted up as a particular fine or fee. The people don't understand, majority of the people who read House Joint Resolution, a lot of people will try to come with disinformation saying that it's particularly, it's discontinued or they recodified it. And no, if that were the case, every member of Congress should be in jail right now, federal prison, for treason. We know that. Or the worst punishment, according to their so-called constitution, is death. But it says by the what? Witness of 2 or more people. So basically, they will have to attest to themselves that they all have actually did what? Committed treason. But the court system will not tell you this. They won't tell you this because the strict reason behind why they do it is because they're trying to keep you basically aloof to the agenda of the court system, and they can fatten their pockets and keep the coffers of the state full because they know that they got a lot of people who are lay people, and I'm going to say in blunt terms, a lot of dumbass people who reside on this so-called continent, not understanding or focusing on how the law merchant works. These people are merchants. I don't give a fuck if they dress in suits or they wear robes and wear these fancy titles and do all these perfunctory oaths. They are merchants. Judges are bankers. Prosecutors or pro se executors or people who basically make claims against you, and they vehemently go against you because they know that if they lose, there are fines and impositions against them because they did something that they didn't do in good faith. Now, whenever you go to court or whatever the case may be, please do not try to be vociferous with these people because, again, if they know you know a certain degree and a certain level of knowledge about how this stuff works, they will either try one or two things. One, they will try to muffle you. This is why you practice your power of attorney in fact, and you make sure that no one speaks for you in their corporate capacity and you represent yourself in propria persona. And two, what they would try to do also is make it seem as if you yourself don't know what you're talking about, and they will try to, by coercion or duress, force you into some sort of contract, either by offer or some sort of tacit admission. This is why I tell a lot of people what you need to learn as far as you embarking upon this journey is always reserve your right to a trial. Meaning, if you have to settle a dispute with a third party who obviously doesn't wish to discharge or doesn't wish to hold you, the natural person, not liable for some act of forbearance or fraud on behalf of these state actors, then this is what you do. And this is reserved for the next video. You take them to trial and you expose their fraud. A lot of people, majority of people on the face of this continent, have never been able to articulate or place this into proper perspective. If you can speak it to a legal professional or one of the chief bankers, then trust me, a layman will understand your terminology as well, because what you do when you go to trial is you give these certain information to these people and you make sure that they're just as informed, if not more informed, about what your commercial process is in that courtroom. And you make sure that these people understand by documentation, proofs, facts, evidence, and definition that you're not fucking crazy. See, the court system knows that the more people, well, it's very few, but the more people come to the cognizance of the legal scheme, it starts to crumble. It falls apart. Now, in order for darkness to be what it is, light has to always be banished from its environment. That's why that system is the way it is. They don't want smart, critical thinking people in charge of their own existence. They just want dumb slaves who are indoctrinated by the particular public spectrum, public fool system, and they just want you to acquiesce to their business agenda at the cost and expense of your life, liberty, property, and your freedoms. Now, a lot of people might argue because they're indoctrinated by the commercial schema and they think that they're right. No, people, they're trying to take something away from you. I don't care if it's your labor, it's your wages, if it's in transfer of the principal obligation by community service or whatever. This is all a contract that is designed to take something away from you. I don't give a fuck how many federal supplements you read or how many case laws that are perfunctory that make you believe that the legal system is right and you're wrong. It's fraud. Period. This is the way it is. And until you start addressing it in the proper persona and you basically start to handle your commercial affairs with a superior security interest in your UCC1, they're going to look at you like a debtor. And you're going to be a debtor, and they're going to continue treating you like a serf. They're going to keep accruing interest off of your trust account, and they're going to keep you in a debtor or a servile status. If you understand the 14th Amendment, as I said in previous videos and years before, subject in the verbiage of the 14th Amendment means a serf or a slave or a debtor or a non-entity. So when it says that every person born in the United States is subject to the jurisdiction thereof, it's a presumption. It means that you were civil to mortuus or civilly dead from the time you came out into existence, because they knew that the only way that they could hold sway over you is to presume that you were not living or not competent enough, and to actually craft a legal system around your existence to make you a debtor and to keep themselves as quote unquote beneficiaries, not creditors, but beneficiaries off of what? An insolvent trust. Anybody can fucking debate me on this issue. And I promise you, by rules and so-called legal definitions and so-called court cases, I can prove to you that what I'm saying is very true. However, they know that the average education that you receive to school is not education at all. It's thoughts, it's emotions, it's more so beliefs as opposed to constructive or utilitarian knowledge. It's something that is particularly fallacious at best. It's something that's a total fallacy. And a lot of people who have these convictions or who have these beliefs indoctrinated within them don't have the mental capacity to be able to retain the more critical thinking aspect of what knowledge is. Trust me, they never designed the education system for you to actually know this. Now, I know this might come to a shock to a lot of people because, yes, people, the object of this is to not become afraid or to become fearful. It's to become empowered, because the more you know, you'll realize that you're keeping your natural self out of liability. The thing that people don't understand also is this. I don't care if it's from a religious aspect or it's from a legal aspect. They try to make it seem as if you owe something to society. They've embedded these concepts in your mind to make you think that you owe a debt to society, or a contribution, or a duty, or a pledge, so to speak. These are things that have been introduced to us, but we never understood them from a legal prospect, but we understood them from a public aspect. So as long as they kept you snowed in from those concepts of higher realization, then what they've done is totally robbed you of an existence, because you're going to walk the straight and narrow path. Remember in school, they told you stand in a straight line, and the person who was the heavily and the most indoctrinated was always the line leader, the teacher's pet. That's nothing different than what we see today in society. The pick me, the one who's always first to regurgitate the answer from the so-called depository, also known as the teacher, who basically gives you curriculum that they know is corrupted, that they know particularly doesn't align with proper sociological ideas, and it's totally out of sync with reality at best. So you go through this stage of indoctrination through 12 years, and they taught you this from an age where you didn't really even have a say-so in the knowledge you obtained. Now you understand the complexity between what is a child and what is an adult. As an adult, and a person who actually has the capability of being able to literally peruse works and knowledges that have been hidden from the public, then it's your duty and your job to act upon those things. But I tell people all the time, the sole purpose of the discharge process in court is to keep your natural ass out of jail. It's to keep your natural ass from losing your roof over your head. It's to keep your natural ass from losing that hard-earned vehicle that you actually took a loan out against, and you're working for it. So you are actually considered what? You're not considered the debtor. You are considered the surety. But because they understand the banking and commercial terms behind it, they have made you forfeit your position as a creditor and turn the actual obligation of the contract into what? A liability, because they took it upon themselves to take all of your particulars, such as your wages, net and gross, and they turned it around and attached interest to it, which devalued your wages because it was taxable. And what they did was give it to you in a unilateral contract and made you the one-party signature to it, which means that they're exempt from liability and you're responsible. So if you don't pay, we can take this car, and for all back payments, we can also make you pay in interest. And if you don't like it, we'll take you to court to get a judgment. It's fucking fraud, people. Wake up. Start learning how to deal with your commercial affairs. Again, if your adversary does not wish to settle with you before you go to court, take it to trial. Certain cases and certain instances or certain de jure subpolitical divisions will also do this. We are trying to seek a judgment without a court appearance. Fuck that. That is only when you do not respond in an adequate amount of time. If you do not respond within an adequate amount of time, you are giving your adversary leeway. And remember, court cases are often decided, if not more times than most, based upon evidence that you can present. If it's not presented, it's not plausible. What is lacking cannot be counted. It is what it is. Now, I know that a lot of agents, and I don't mean particularly government agents or police or whatever. I'm talking about these lawyers who peruse these channels, who have for years try to understand the legal mechanism, because I know that their law schools have totally disadvantaged them and made them believe that they understood the commercial processes, but no, they only understand and interpret what administrative law is. That's not law. That's codes and rules for corporations. People, you need to grasp what the second society is as far as the legal secret society is concerned. Because whether you believe it or not, it controls every aspect of your personal life, except for what goes on in your private domicile, i.e. you're underneath your roof. But here's another thing. This is why a lot of y'all in society mess up. Not speaking to people directly, or maybe I am, or maybe people in the future, down the line, universe, proceed as it will. But you let them know about your personal business because social media and the internet access allows them to see and paralyze your personal life. Now, if you do something harmless, that's a different story. Hey, baby shower, whatever. But when you're dealing with a legal society, remember that everything that you do as far as your personal life is concerned can be considered and will be considered in most cases as evidence. Remember, in order for warrants to ensue, they have to what? Basically describe the place to be searched and the things to be seized. So, remember yesteryear, go back to the 90s, back when the NBA was prison ball, when they talked about warrants and warrants being thrown out. They had to particularly describe the place in its distinct detail to be searched and what is to be seized. People don't realize this through social media, especially those dummies who actually have ongoing court cases and ongoing legal matters. Doesn't matter what it is. You're posting your personal information on there, which means that it's not very hard for them to actually conduct an investigation against you, and they know what to take from you and they know where to get it. Mind your business certain times and mind the public's business when it comes to how you relegate yourself, especially if you're dealing with a court matter. Do not let these people for 1 second make you think that social media is your friend. It's not. It's not. And especially if you know you're going through legal matters, because they will often use that without warrant, because remember, it's public information. So if a stranger can view it, they can use it too. And often they do. But I leave off on this note to digress on the level to come back down to the general proximity of what I'm saying. Discharge. You're not there to argue the charge. You're not there to argue the amount. You're not there to argue the intent. You're not there to argue the report. You're not there to argue anything. You're only there for discharge. If the legal system denies you the ability to discharge, take it to trial. End of discussion. Take this information, put it in the public venue. It's recorded. It's now going on record. And now the things that your 12 peers who they're going to choose from voter registration will be actually a little bit more hip to the game. Won't make you seem so crazy when you got your documentation and your information lined up and they can see it for what it's worth. Let me tell you something. The number one thing that life, the world over, has often feared, I don't care from rulers, kings, emperors, don't matter through history, is a thinking population of people who had the capability to drive and direct their own lives. Period. If you wish to be a slave or a serf or a servant or just a corporate dummy, smash that stop button. It's your choice. The Creator gave everybody the ability to do as they deem fit. It's your life. Some people choose to be evil. Some people choose to be industrious. Some people choose to be lazy. Some people don't choose to do shit at all. But just make sure you don't fall into any of those extremes or non-extremes. Make sure you handle your responsibilities properly and make sure you live properly, responsibly in every aspect of your life. That way, you don't get sunk under by the commercial system. And that's the very significant truth in less than 19 minutes. Now, like I said before, everyone has their takes. Everyone has their distinctions of understanding. Trust me, it takes time. You have to realize in order for you to grasp proper knowledge, you have to first flush out the chum, I should say, of what you think you know. Shit can that. Throw it away, start over anew, and put some new information in your system. Put some new information, new insight, some new spirituality, some new economics, some new financial advice, some new things, and get rid of the old because it doesn't work. It only works because they prescribed it to work a certain way. And at every angle, they will try to change it because they know the more we keep people aloof, dumb, and blind, we'll keep sway. And that's the reason why a lot of things are going on right now in this world. For people who have their third eye open. They're losing control. The grip is slipping. And you, as a proactive spiritual individual, if this is you I'm speaking to, you got work to do in your own personal realm. Because guess what? If they lose control of the steering wheel, whose job is it to take control. Peace, light, love. First time viewing this channel, make sure you hit that notification button so every time I drop heat, you'll be first to know. Agents, do not contact me whatsoever. I do not consent, nor do I oblige whatsoever. I don't give a fuck how much you try to offer me. I don't care what entreaties you use. I know who you are, and I do not deal with y'all under no circumstances. And that's just the way it has been and will always be. But for those people who want the enlightenment, the truth, you better realize that things are more controllable than you think they are. See, people who have this social apathetic knowledge into themselves, we can't change anything. Then I don't need to say that to you. I don't give a fuck if it's family members, close coworkers, friends, school friends. I don't care who it is. Even your only person that you probably lay in bed with every night. If they don't want to hear it, fuck them. Come on. If I can swim and you can't, I'm not going to drown myself and you. And I'm not going to let you drown me. So you have to just learn how to elevate and just keep on going. Because as crazy as the world is going, as you think it is, it's not. Things are just coming back into proper perspective. It's just that they're trying to hold on to the reins because they want chaos, and they want as much chaos as they can because they never want to give you a moment to think. Peace resides within yourself. It resides within your personal spiritual lens. And remember, if you have steadfast, not faltering, but steadfast belief in your creator, you're fine, man. Other than that, that fear mongering, or what they call, somebody told me the other day, I forget the brother's name, fear porn, is what they want you to think about because they don't want you to ever get to a consensus of stability within your mentality for you to be able to sock it to them. Stay tuned, y'all, because the courtroom agenda, the trial, is next.